So it's a Saturday at about noon, and I'm just pulling in. I was planning on being really hands-off on this renovation, and just the way inflation has hit, I don't think I get to do that this time around. So I'm pulling up today. There's a couple of things that need demoed. The plumbers are showing up on the 12th. Today is the 3rd. And so I've got 3 things I want to get done today. One of them is to remove the bathroom window and block it off. One is to get the gross old subfloor out of the kitchen. And this is a 1970s home, and back then they were doing 1/2-inch plywood, and then they would put 3/4-inch particle board on top of it. And so anytime that got wet, it usually just went to mush, right? And I'm hoping that is the case in this one, and all I have to do is pull off a layer of particle board, and I still have a nice clean layer of plywood underneath it. And then I'll just put new 3/4-inch plywood down on top of it. And then after I get done doing that, I guess I have 4 things I want to get done today. I need to cut a hole in the floor for the plumbers to be able to run the lines to the water heater where we're going to move it, because it's slab on grade underneath where it's going to get moved. And then from there, I need to pull all the sheetrock down in the kitchen. So that's what I'm doing. Gonna do a few time lapses. Got a friend and his son that are gonna show up because his son wants to earn money, and that makes me laugh because he's a fun kid to watch. So anyway, here we go. For reference here, this is how we ended up looking after demo. Well, demo phase 1, I should say. It's, carpets are all out. They obviously had something that left a lot of messes. The kitchen, again, particle board I think is all but toast. We're gonna yank that today, fingers crossed. And then all that sheetrock's coming down. Then this guy right here, that window is coming out. We're gonna board her up and get prepped for plumbers to come and put a new bathtub and some new plumbing in there next week. And then in here, I think I got a sheetrock guy showing up today too to give me a bid on fixing a few of these patches, because I am only capable of doing so much at a time. that was a way bigger mess than I was anticipating. So a bit of a wealth of emotions today. I found a couple of things out. One is that my subfloor is toast. And the other is that my house is on a truss system, so there's no load-bearing walls, interior load-bearing walls. There are exterior load-bearing walls because that's what they sit on, right? So that said, I think I get to remove a wall. We'll see how much cabinets and stuff end up costing for that. And then, I mean, you can see it, the wall's right over here. And I think that means I gotta scrape the popcorn off. Anyway, long story short, it's just getting more and more complicated and more expensive as time goes on. So, we'll see how this goes on. So, here is that wall. There's a lot of electrical in it. I'm still debating on whether or not that's gonna end up coming out. But here is that subfloor, and you can see we've got a water heater right there. And that is going to go in there. I mean, not like right there, but other side of that wall, other side of the house, right? That's a master bedroom, master bath. There's a shower here, vanity here, and then over on the other side of that wall is just a bunch of dead space. So we are going to slide that guy right over there. But that said, our subfloor here has gotten a tad bit wet in its lifetime, and you can see I went ahead and poked right through it with the hammer. So I think these few boards here are going to come up, and we will come through and replace that with a sheet of plywood. Some of my philosophy on why real estate, why invest in real estate. And part of it is because I grew up in a construction family. My dad's been a commercial contractor for my entire life. And I grew up in, remodels, and I grew up in new construction. And that's what I know, right? I know how a house functions. I came from being a finished carpenter and a general contractor myself before going full-time as a real estate agent. So I understand how a house works, and I know how to work on them. That's a good chunk of it. The other part of it is, at one point I worked for a bank, and I was a vault teller. And my job was to move money out of our vault and into the Fed's hands once a week. And at this point, this bank was doing like $400,000+ in cash a week off to the Fed. And it was my responsibility to package all of that up and get it out of our hair, right? And I can remember, I think it was my second month on the job, I got asked to help the vault teller that I ended up replacing. And we're sitting there and we've got this pile of money sitting in front of us, and we counted it all up and it was like $350,000. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, this isn't all that impressive. You see these movies from the 80s that have briefcases full of money, and they're like, it's $500,000. It's not $500,000. If it's all 100, that like the amount of money in that briefcase is either all cardboard underneath it or it's millions, right? Because $300,000 in hundreds is not that impressive. And that was kind of my takeaway from it, was you look at $300,000 or you look at a house and it's like, I'm gonna take the house, right? So that was another factor. And then on top of all of that, our money at this stage of the game is not real. There's no gold standard anymore. There's nothing backing it. And so at the end of the day, I can buy stocks, yes, but one, I don't understand stocks. I understand houses. I know how to work on them. Stocks don't really need the same kind of, you can't hit stocks with a hammer. You know what I mean? So I go for houses, right? And when you buy a house, you have something physical and real, and it's there, right? So you actually own something. And again, I do invest a little bit in stocks. I think it's a fun thing to try to figure out, but I'm not a day trader. I'm not a big time investor. I'm a real estate investor. And at the end of the day, I'm a real estate agent before that. The other, part of this is it gave me a chance to physically change my community. And again, I've mentioned before that part of my business model is buying the dilapidated houses and making them nice places that I would want to live or that I would be willing to live in. And I'd like to think, as a finished carpenter, I've got some pretty high standards. So, let's take a dumpy house and let's make it something that people are going to enjoy. And then there's another part of this, and I don't know if anybody else has run into this before, but when I bought my first house, it was, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath upstairs, and then a 1-bedroom, 1-bath mother-in-law apartment underneath it. And I lived down in the basement, and as soon as I closed on it, I called 2 of my buddies. I said, hey, I've got a couple of rooms. I know you guys hate where you're living. Why don't you come pay me rent instead, right? And so I matched their rent for what they were paying the other guy, and they loved it. They were super happy. And one of the tenants came through and expressed to me one day that having an on-site laundry machine kind of changed the way his week went. He was able to be more productive because he was not driving to a friend's house to borrow their laundry machine. He wasn't taking 3 hours a week where he was, going to a laundromat or hanging out in somebody's living room waiting for his underwear to dry. He was able to do it at home. And because of that extra time, he ended up, I think, starting a business. And now he's running a lawn care company down in the Tri-Cities, and he's actually doing a pretty good job of it. He's also one of the guys that really inspired me to jump into this real estate thing full time. And he's got a YouTube channel, I think, maybe, I don't know, his name is Dylan Beard, and he puts a lot of stuff up on Facebook. He's also a just wealth of information if you're looking at real estate investing. He was part owner in a business of mine up until here very recently when we sold the building that was that we were partnered on. And anyway, he's a good dude, fun guy to watch. And again, he's my reasoning, part of my reasoning for jumping into this real estate investing thing feet first. And so that's it. It's the human element for me. You physically own something. Money's not real. It's all a game, and you have an opportunity to like actually help people and make their lives a little bit easier. And I mean, part of that philosophy up until about a month ago, I was actually covering lawn care for all of my tenants, and it at a loss, and I canceled that. I'll touch base on why I did that later, but I want to make things easier for my tenants. I want them to be able to have a productive life where, maybe because I covered lawn care, one of my tenants goes out and starts a business and is now self-employed, right? So I want to be able to offer that life-changing element through all of my rentals. And figuring out how to do that is, it's been an interesting journey, and it's not always the biggest money maker, but at the end of the day, I like to think I'm actually, having a positive impact on the community around me. So that's why real estate.